Hi everybody, it's Michael here from Everything Cryptocurrencies, and today's date is the 5th of April 2018. And today we just wanted to do a quick little video of, kind of a market breakdown, like an overall market breakdown of what we've seen since December / the new year of 2018, and kind of giving everybody our perspective of things and how we've kind of connected the dots, and how, just to give everybody, kind of put everybody at ease in these kind of these times of kind of downward, stagnant momentum times, stressful times, people like to call it. However, yeah, we'll start with this video, and also I'd just like to quickly add that we haven't been as active, we haven't been pumping out the videos that everybody kind of would have anticipated. However, we've just been working behind the scenes closely with a lot of people, networking, and trying to put together a course for all you guys, just to kind of trade how we trade things, and how we approach the market. And I'm sure that will be available to everybody very, very soon. So yeah, let's crack on with this video. So as you can see here on the left hand side of my Bitcoin daily chart, is I've kind of signaled out 2 days of December, which the first one being the 11th of December, and then a week later being the 18th of December. So the first one being the first official launch of the CBOEs, which was the first futures contracts to launch, and in the second bubble we've got the CMEs. As you can see, when the hype around that was going around Bitcoin especially, and cryptocurrencies at the time of the futures being launched, we saw a nice run up to this unbelievable number of, give or take, on most exchanges around the world was 20,000, which was a kind of a evil handle kind of psychological number. We've also got an even star formation pattern, but like I said, this video isn't a technical breakdown video. This is just kind of an overall kind of perspective video on how we view the market since around these times here. So why have I kind of signaled out these two events here? The reason why we've signaled out these 2 events here, especially with the CMEs, is that ever since the CMEs were launched, we've just had this, you could call it a big market crash, this massive market crash. To be precise, around this pullback is around 65 to 67%, this kind of correction. So just to put things into perspective for you, once institutions were allowed to, even to go long with Bitcoin or go short with Bitcoin with the contracts, just to put things in perspective for you, even just to put, especially with the CMEs, one contract, if you wanted to short Bitcoin as an example, one contract with the CMEs was worth 5 Bitcoins. So if you was to put that into kind of perspective, well, which we will do, is 5 times around, let's say $19,600, $1,600, as it says on the trading platform that we're using, TradingView. That contract, the one contract being 5 Bitcoins, that would have been worth over $98,000 US. So imagine if an institution that has, they've got a lot of, firepower behind them, they've got a lot of capital behind them. If they, let's say for example, if they shorted Bitcoin worth up to 10 contracts, which would have been roughly around about over $980,000, nearly $1 million, you can tell that, a lot of institutions that did short Bitcoin, they would have been loving it. Obviously, as you can see, they would have won that contract, they would have shorted it, happy days for them. But the point I'm trying to make is that the CMEs being worth 5 Bitcoins, which I already mentioned, it would have had there's a lot of volatility there. There's a lot of market, pressure going into the market, driving the market down, momentum going down. But that's not to say the reason why Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market per se has corrected. That's just a small little factor, because we connect the dots and we can see the bigger picture. But if all the institutions that are, all these hedge funds and institutional money is institutional money. It's not like retail money, what me and most of you guys that are watching this video would trade. They're trading big money, big big money. So as you can see, it had a big influence. Look at these red bearish candles. All these red bearish candles. And as you can see with this MA crossover, it's crossed over here. We see this crossover. It crosses to the upside here, but then it crosses going to the downside. But the MA crossover is a technical signal, and like I said, this ain't a technical breakdown. But we've just remained in terms of market growth, not looking at price per se. I believe 2018 has been a great year for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, because obviously here at Everything Cryptocurrencies, we tend not to look at price too much. Like we said, we believe in the technology. We believe that fiat currency itself will eventually die out. Well, we're making a big statement here, but eventually it will die out and be sucked up like a black hole, and eventually we will see the fiat transition from fiat to digital currency, and I believe that will be happening all around the world. So since the launch of the CBOEs and the CMEs, we've seen this market correction around 65-67%, like I've already mentioned. Also, just to note, around about the March, April, kind of May, that is also tax season, so a lot of cryptocurrency enthusiasts or investors like ourselves would have been selling their cryptocurrencies to pay their capital gains tax. That's another little factor. We also had another little factor with the Chinese Lunar New Year. So as a lot of volatility tends to come from the Asian markets, which we already know. That just had a small little play on that. Also, we've had confirmed a new story about the Mt. Gox trustee who sold half a billion worth of bitcoins. And obviously, you need to understand, just to put things into perspective for you guys, is that I believe it's between 1 to 2% of the entire population have invested into cryptocurrencies or currently own cryptocurrencies. And as you can imagine, that is not a lot of the entire population. So somebody like the Mt. Gox trustee who had sold $500 million worth of Bitcoin, we understand that like, if you know about buy and sell walls, whales and big wallet holders, they can technically drive the price down. So that is a kind of, I don't want to keep I'm going to do another video on manipulation. I'm going to break down how we can spot manipulation, but it's taken us, we've been involved in this market for a few years now, and it took us a long time to understand that Bitcoin itself is the most manipulated cryptocurrency there is. A lot of people might scream and shout and say to me, oh, you're wrong and this and that. Obviously them, because they are emotionally invested into Bitcoin. But just to put it quite bluntly, Bitcoin is the most manipulated currency there is. And just the whole entire cryptocurrency market itself is manipulated. Even though we don't have regulation at the minute, it is very, very manipulated. A lot of people would say to us, oh, when we do get regulation, it's going to be more manipulated. But in fact, because it's a new niche infancy kind of market that we're involved in, it's very, very manipulated. And if you can connect the dots and follow where the money goes, like with buy and sell walls on exchanges, but even if you just go that one step further and you look at the biggest wallet holders in Bitcoin and Ethereum especially, you can see where the money is going, and if you can connect the dots, you can make a lot of money. So for example, in these times of market correcting and crashing, we here at Everything Cryptocurrencies, we are loving it. We are technically getting a discount on a lot of the altcoins and even Bitcoin itself. So we use the dollar cost averaging theory here at Everything Cryptocurrencies. If you don't know what that is, go and do some research. We might do a video on it at a later stage, just to give everybody a bit more information of how we do it. Drop a comment or a like or whatever, and just let us know if you wanted us to do that video in the future. But yeah, so just overall, the market is correcting. So we see it as a positive thing. It's all about perspective. If you flip the coin, people are saying that the market's dying, it's dead. But just to put things into perspective for you, if we was to go to look at an entire kind of on CoinMarketCap, cap, look at an overall kind of picture of what we've seen. So even just using this example here, if we go from the year 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, if we go around the start of January 2017, the market cap was around, I'd say around 18 billion USD. See, now from 18 billion USD, we went, well, to the end of last year, we was around just over 800 billion. See, that's now, if you put things into perspective, that's almost a $1 trillion market cap. All right, now we're getting this. We've had this, this 65% correction. Well, on Bitcoin, the whole entire market, crypto market has corrected. But it's been a good thing. We needed this correction. We needed everybody to come down to earth. There was too much hype around Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies itself. There was too much hype. Even in, like I already mentioned, for example, I'll give you an example. In the UK, the Sun paper, the Daily Mirror, the Metro, all these papers that, listen, I'm not necessarily being negative and putting them kind of people who read them papers down. However, we saw them mentioning cryptocurrencies like Ripple, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. So once you start, there's that saying, buy the rumor, sell the news. Obviously, once that news, we here at Everything Cryptocurrency, we did not sell any of our positions because at all-time highs, we would be lying if we said we did, because we are overall bullish. We're in this for the long term. We believe in the technology. We believe, like I said, we're going to see that slow transition from fiat to digital currencies eventually happen, and we're just bullish overall. We're in it for the long term. However, we saw a lot of people buy it at all-time highs. They invested a lot of their life savings. If I go back to the Bitcoin daily chart, we'd see a lot of people, when there was a lot of hype around it, there was a lot of positive news stories. That's another subject I'm going to be touching on, is that we saw a lot of these news outlets who also play a big role in the actual entire crypto market. So, it's funny that whenever, it's like market cycles, whenever we start to see the market pulling back, we see negative news stories after negative news stories. Since we've seen the CME's launch, we've just seen negative news stories after negative news stories. As you can see in this Bitcoin daily chart, we're making a series of lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So, eventually we could see, technically we could actually see more bearish momentum to the downside. We here at Everything Cryptocurrencies, we wouldn't even dare say that we've bottomed out and we're going to reverse to the upside, because who's to say that it will. Fundamentals and the big elites, big wallet holders, they're the ones that are actually manipulating, controlling the market, pulling the strings behind the scenes. So for us to even say that, who are we to say that? We can only go on what we see and what we analyze, and when we try to connect the dots, we try to use our brain, our logic, and our past experience in other financial instruments to kind of give us that edge over the market. But as you can see, this whole entire market, we saw a lot. If we go back to here, we've seen we go back to here, Bitcoin was averaging around 1,000. So we've seen this 1900% increase, which obviously went to 20,000. So obviously, I've already mentioned it on on our social media, on Instagram and YouTube already, that we get a lot of these news stories creating fear and FUD, and a lot of inexperienced amateur traders. What they'll be doing is they'll be reading these stories, and they'll be emotionally attached to their investment, and they'll be selling at these times, which would be, in our eyes, would be the most ridiculous thing you could do at this time. Why would you be selling when all these big institutions and banks and governments, I guarantee you, they are stocking up on all the cryptocurrencies. They are stocking up on everything. I even done a Instagram story on war on cyber. It wasn't even a joke. I believe a lot of institutions and governments, they are stocking up on cryptocurrencies as we speak. We see Bitcoin itself as a store of value. It's an asset, and a lot of these, there's going to be a lot of mining rigs at the minute, mining groups. They're all coming together. Governments, institutions, like I already mentioned, they are stocking up on every single cryptocurrency. Believe it or not, they are doing it all as we speak. So why can't we do the same? Why can't we think like these big wallet holders, these big elites? Because if you think about it, if we see these massive moves, do you think honestly that the crypto market is just going to vanish and die out? We don't believe that. We've seen people, but the new millennial kind of way of thinking, we've seen people get rich overnight, literally. But a lot of people that have come into the market around these times here, they need to understand that, you know, firstly, we had the cypherpunk movement, we had the crypto enthusiasts. They were the ones that were holding for long term. But if you was to go back and ask them and say, and get a kind of perspective, get their kind of perspective on things, their libertarian kind of way of thinking is that it was a social experiment, but also at the same time it was a kind of a anti kind of government system kind of act. You know, all these crypto enthusiasts, if you go back and ask them, they may not have thought that Bitcoin was going to reach the highs that we've seen today. However, they believed in the technology, they believed in a new cryptocurrency that was, you know, was anti-establishment. But how ironic is that the coin that they thought was anti-establishment is actually the coin that's used mostly by these big institutions, by these banks and governments. So we had, I believe, to go on to my next point, I believe it was around, I'd say it was mid-February, we had the big talks with the SEC about regulation. And from my analysis, you know, breaking down what they said word for word, they were completely positive. And, you know, you can argue with me on this, but the only thing that they were negative about with cryptocurrencies in general was ICOs, and I felt like that was a really good thing. And I feel ICOs do need to get a kind of more of a look in. They need a lot more regulation. You know, I'm not going to sit there and be negative about ICOs, because there are good ICOs. However, there's a lot of, you know, people are not making up their own minds. They're following other people. They're not doing their own research, and they're just following word of mouth, which here at Everything Cryptocurrencies, we do not encourage that. So then, obviously what we've seen recently was the social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. They ended up banning ICO advertisements, which we feel here at Everything Cryptocurrency was brilliant. But yeah, like I said, we saw, you know, a lot of negative news stories, just one after the other. But it's funny because once we do eventually get that reversal to the upside, and we do go and retest all-time highs in Bitcoin and the overall market, you're gonna see a quick switch. We guarantee it. We're gonna see positive. And that's just the way the market's working at the minute. You know, patterns are slowly starting to emerge. And what's happening is that, you know, the cryptocurrencies and a lot of people that are investing into the market, you know, the weak hands are falling straight into the strong hands, the smart investors, the one that have the edge over the market. So like I said, we use the dollar cost averaging theory to, you know, no matter if the price is at 20k or if it's at 6k, we don't look at price as much as what a lot of people do. We don't check our blockfolio all the time. We're not going to sit there and lie to you and say that we check it all, because that's a lie. We are, like I said, we are long-term overall bullish on this market. So, you know, I just wanted to put things in perspective for you guys and just say that, you know, the market at the minute, we needed this correction. It brought everybody back to earth. We heard loads of people were talking about buying a Lamborghini, doing this, doing that. And they're the ones that had invested too much money. They're the ones that are emotionally invested. They're the ones that don't have the education. They don't have, you know, they don't have financial they don't have the financial IQ that like we have here at Everything Cryptocurrencies. You know, we understand financial markets. You know, so we've got our team here. We've got crypto. We've been involved in cryptocurrencies for, you know, many years now. You know, we also trade forex, stocks, and, you know, this entire market is just full of manipulation. And the reason why we focus on Bitcoin, and the reason why we should focus on Bitcoin, is that Bitcoin is, you could compare it to the US dollar. So when I say the US dollar is technically the reserve currency of the world. So we can we believe that Bitcoin itself is the reserve currency of the cryptocurrency world. And you'd say, why would we say that? The reason why we say that is that more time, people that first get involved into cryptocurrencies, their first purchases tend to be Bitcoin. And also on most exchanges, in order to buy an altcoin, you first need to purchase Bitcoin and then exchange it for that altcoin of your choice. So it's like Bitcoin itself is the store of value that it does have is that it's used as a medium of exchange at the minute. You know, that's not really a good thing in our eyes, because you know, when Bitcoin rallies, the whole market tends to follow it. When it declines and corrects, it tends to follow it. And you know, eventually we wouldn't put a time slot or an allocation on when it will happen, but hopefully we'll see, you know, some of the 10 or top 20 cryptocurrencies eventually stand on their own two feet and not be affected by Bitcoin's price itself, which will be a really good time for the actual entire market. But Bitcoin is, we're going to put it bluntly, is the most manipulated cryptocurrency. But at the same time, we need Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, like I said, is, you know, it's usually our first purchase, and also it is the big daddy of the cryptocurrency world. We put on some previously on our post on our social media that we could see a reversal to retest all-time highs, and then we could potentially go and, you know, go and hit all-time highs at maybe 29,000. But you know, when that does happen, we will let everybody know on our social media and keep everybody up to date with that. But this video, I just wanted to put things into perspective for you guys and just say, you know, the current market conditions shouldn't put anybody off. It shouldn't put off, you know, experienced investors. It shouldn't put off new investors. But one kind of message I hope I kind of got across here is that, you know, even when the market's down, you can still have a positive attitude. So when the market's correcting and pulling back, we're investing. We're investing what we can afford, because, you know, if you invest too much, you'll become emotionally invested, and then you might even end up having to sell at these kind of current market conditions, which won't be a positive for you. But yeah, so, you know, as the market, you know, we could bottom out, or we could, you know, like I said, if we do look left, we got some structure around, you know, the 5-4K region. But we're gonna do it. We will do another video when the time comes and when we hit these levels of what we could potentially see next. But yeah, the market is in the hands of the big players, the big wallet holders. But if you could connect the dots, we will show everybody how to do that. If you in the future, if you purchase our course, we will show everybody how we spot these things. Like I said, it took us a long time to understand what was actually going on, connecting the dots, following the money. There's that saying, yeah, following the money. But with the big wallet holders at the minute, you can type it. You can actually go onto blockchain.com and actually see the largest transactions that are actually going on. But yeah, that's a little tip for, you know, that we won't go into detail. We're not going to give too much of our kind of, you know, education away. But yeah, we're correcting. We're still correcting. We've made a series of lower highs and lower lows. But yeah, the current market conditions, they should not put off anybody. You know, you got to hold for the long term. If you believe in the technology and you've done your research, then, you know, you shouldn't be sweating it. You know, this is normal. This kind of volatility and this correction into the market is normal. Believe me, we've been involved for long. We've seen the highs, we've seen the lows. But eventually, when the time is right, we're going to extract profit from the market and we're going to be happy. And, you know, it's just staying one step ahead of the market. But yeah, that was just I don't know if I went on too long and I blabbed on too long, but I just wanted to put our kind of perspective on things and what we've kind of seen. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next video.